The rain poured down that night, beating against the cracked windows of a small apartment on the rough side of town. Inside, a man sat hunched over his phone, his fingers trembling as he typed. His name was Daniel Cole, a single dad who worked 2 jobs just to keep food on the table for his 3-year-old daughter, Lily. His eyes burned from exhaustion, but tonight wasn't about bills or late rent. It was about desperation. He needed help, and he needed it fast. Daniel typed out a message meant for his friend, begging for advice on how to cover Lily's growing medical expenses. His little girl had been sick, the doctors vague but concerned. He poured his heart into the message. Raw, unfiltered words of a father terrified of losing the only light left in his life. When he hit send, relief washed over him, thinking at least someone would hear his cry. But he sent it to the wrong number. That number belonged to none other than Amelia Grant, one of the most powerful CEOs in the city. A woman whose name echoed in news headlines, whose face appeared on magazine covers, and whose net worth was the kind of number Daniel couldn't even dream of. And by the time Amelia opened her phone, a stranger's desperate plea filled her screen. 2. Before we continue, if this story already has you hooked, don't forget to like this video, drop a comment sharing your thoughts, and subscribe to Whispers of Kinness for more stories that touch the heart and inspire the soul. 2. At first, Amelia almost deleted the message, assuming it was spam, but something in the words stopped her cold. The honesty, the way this man spoke of his daughter. She's the only reason I'm still standing, and I'll do anything to keep her safe. Amelia sat back in her office chair, the city lights twinkling through her floor-to-ceiling windows, and for the first time in a long while she felt a tug at her heart. For years, Amelia's life had been polished boardrooms, profit charts, and endless schedules. Success was her armor, but buried deep beneath that iron exterior was a wound she never spoke about, the child she had lost years ago. The one she never got to hold. And here was a stranger's text reminding her of the ache she thought she had buried. She didn't respond, not yet. But just a few hours later, her phone rang again, this time from an unknown hospital number. Ms. Grant, we have you listed as the emergency contact for a little girl named Lily Cole. Her father isn't answering. Can you come? Amelia froze. Emergency contact. She didn't know any Lily Cole. She didn't know this man. But then her memory flashed back, the text, the father, the sick child. Her heart pounded. Without hesitation, Amelia grabbed her coat and rushed out into the storm. At St. Mary's Hospital, the smell of antiseptic filled the air as Amelia hurried down the hallway, her heels clicking against the tiles. She didn't know what she was walking into, but when she pushed open the door to a small pediatric room, her chest tightened. There, lying pale and fragile in a hospital bed, was a little girl with chestnut curls and wide, tired eyes. Beside her sat Daniel, his hands clasped around his daughter's tiny fingers, whispering promises through tears he tried to hide. When Amelia entered, Daniel looked up, startled. His face was worn, the kind of face carved by hardship and sleepless nights. "Who are you?" he asked, his voice hoarse. Amelia hesitated, unsure how to explain. "The hospital called me. They said I was listed as an emergency contact." Daniel's eyes widened in confusion, then realization struck. He fumbled for his phone, scrolled through, and groaned. No, this can't be. I must have typed your number wrong when they asked for a backup contact." They stared at each other, both strangers bound by a mistake. But when Lily opened her eyes and whispered, "Daddy, who's the lady?" Amelia stepped closer, her heart breaking at the child's fragility. "Just a friend," she said softly. In that moment, Amelia made a choice she didn't understand yet. She stayed. The hours bled into days. Amelia found herself returning to the hospital, bringing meals Daniel couldn't afford, quietly paying for tests when insurance fell short, and even reading bedtime stories to Lily when her father slipped away to work his night shift. Daniel resisted at first, pride clashing with gratitude. "I don't need your charity," he told her one evening, his voice sharp. But Amelia didn't flinch. She looked him straight in the eye and said, "This isn't charity. This is humanity. You asked the universe for help. Maybe this is the answer." Slowly, walls began to crack. Daniel shared bits of his life, how his wife had died during childbirth, how every day since had been a battle to stay afloat, how Lily's smile was the only thing that made the struggle worth it. And Amelia, in turn, found herself confessing truths she had never told anyone. About the child she lost, about the loneliness behind her power, about the emptiness she couldn't silence no matter how much success she built. Two broken souls, stitched together by a wrong number. But their fragile bond was tested one night when the doctor delivered the worst news yet. Lily's condition was worsening. A rare heart defect required immediate surgery, one that cost more than Daniel could ever dream of affording. Daniel broke. He left the hospital room that night, standing in the rain, fists clenched, screaming at the sky. "Why her? Why not me? Take me instead!" His sobs shook his body, and Amelia, standing a few feet away, felt every ounce of his pain. She had the money, she had the power, and for once she didn't hesitate. The next morning, Amelia signed the papers. She covered the entire cost, no questions asked. Daniel was furious. "You can't just buy your way into our lives!" he snapped. Amelia's eyes welled. "I'm not buying anything. I'm saving her. Because if I had the chance to save my child, I would have given everything. Don't take this from me." The fight melted into silence. For the first time, Daniel saw her not as a billionaire, not as a stranger, but as a woman who carried her own scars. The surgery was long. Hours passed like lifetimes. Daniel and Amelia sat side by side in the waiting room, their hands brushing but neither moving away. When the surgeon finally walked in, his smile said it all. Lily was going to make it. Daniel collapsed into tears, his hands covering his face. Amelia reached over, her hand resting gently on his shoulder, grounding him. "She's going to live," she whispered, her own voice trembling. When Lily woke up days later, her first words were, "Daddy, the lady stayed." And Amelia did. She stayed through recovery, through laughter and tears, through nights of fear and mornings of hope. She stayed until staying felt natural, until her place in their lives was no longer a question. Months later, Lily ran through a sunlit park, her laughter ringing like bells. Daniel watched from a bench, his arm brushing against Amelia's. They weren't quite sure what they were to each other yet. Friends, maybe more. But they knew one truth: sometimes family isn't chosen, and sometimes it arrives through the most unexpected mistakes.